you need to know you love the sport. Massive saving points financially for the bike.
We don't have to fight in the water. This isn't water polo.
That's what's got me through literally starting running to now I'm running marathon in an Ironman.
Not got any underwear on, you know.
Oh,
It was really.
it's not very PG.
It was really sweaty after my run.
Dom ran an impromptu half marathon this morning. Cheers. He did a... Hasn't just wet himself with the lack of pants. We were both meant to do our long runs this morning. We're currently in Bournemouth. I'll give you a little flat tour now. We're staying at this really cool Airbnb and it literally makes me want to move out of my student accommodation. So this is like the entrance. There's a bedroom in here, but obviously there's only 2 of us staying here. So this is a bike room, which is such a cute bedroom. And then the bathroom here. I adore the bedroom. It's like such high ceilings, such cool bed, little dressing table, and just mirrors, like so many mirrors. Taking content and photos here is like a dream. I feel like look at the light. I feel like my uni house, there's no natural light. Yeah, it's actually, this flat is owned by my mum's friend from work, who she's invited us to come and stay for a little training boot camp. So this is like the lounge, lovely TV. We were here watching The Office for about 2-3 hours last night. And kitchen in here. We tend to cook a lot of our food when we go away just to keep it cheap as students, you know. But last night we got back from a bike ride. It was so gorgeous, like the sun was setting. And we got back from a bike ride, absolutely starving, and realised there was a Prezzo next door and they had a deal on where you buy one meal and you get the next one for £1. So he got a huge pizza and I got pasta, like a rigatoni pasta, for like 20 quid for both of us.
Yes.
And then we came back and had a load of crunchy nut as well. Yeah, and then this morning we were both going to do our long runs, but the headwind was like, I was like, nada. The pace wasn't bad, it just felt like incessant. And I had some calls and I was like, I just would rather do my easy 7K. So I did 7K. Dom did his long run.
Did a half marathon.
4:30 pace for 17K.
4K at 5:20.
He did the first 4K with me.
And then right. I did like 5K at about 4:30, 5K at like 4:20, and then the last 7 was just like, just get it done. It was about 4:25, 4:30. The average with the 5:20s at the start was 4:39. Which
is crazy. The last half marathon you ran was what, 150?
157.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just knocked off 20 minutes.
Like,
it has been
almost
a while.
A year. Like 8 months or something.
It's been a while, and you've been running a lot in comparison.
Yeah, biking too.
Biking, swimming. So yeah, that's what this video is about, because I, as we all know, did a half Ironman last year and got myself into triathlon, and I've now dragged him into the triathlon world. So we are both very new to it all, and there are a lot of things that I kind of trial and errored, and I've been teaching Dom as he goes along. So we thought we'd start with like things you need to buy to get into triathlon, and things that like are a bit of a fad, like they're just really expensive and maybe you don't need to spend as much money on them. And then we'll just give some like tips that we've thought about. So hopefully not too long a video. I know my videos are normally like 45 minutes. Because I love talking. So, first things you need to buy.
Stuff to swim in, stuff to ride in, stuff to run in.
Swimming. One swimming costume.
Yeah.
Membership. Memberships are a bit of a pain in the bum, especially like my university one, the public swim is all within times that I'm at clinic. So when I'm treating patients, because it's like between 9 to 5, because in the evening there are swimming clubs and children's swimming lessons and things like that. So actually the best option for me was to join the university swimming club and go to their training sessions. But I go in like a fitness squad, which means I can actually do my own sessions within that time. I'm not on a plan, I've never been on a swimming plan, I kind of just go with it, but I try and aim to cover the distance as much as possible. Now that was feasible for the half Ironman. I'm not swimming 4K every time I get in a pool. I aim for about 2K. Swimming memberships can be expensive. The ones near us, like Nuffield and the ones with saunas and gyms, they're about 100 quid a month.
Well, because I think there are very few places that do just a swim membership. It's normally the pool is attached to the gym and you have to get a gym and swim. So if you've got a gym membership already, maybe like look at upgrading it to include swim.
Yeah.
So then if you're at the gym, you can just go for a swim afterwards.
London's so much better for it. You can also pay for like London fields, like Lido's, really nice outside, and it's 50 metres. 50 metre pools are great for triathlon because obviously there's less tumble turns and there's less they're double the length. So it means that it kind of represents a little bit more open water swimming. In terms of open water swimming, I actually never did that much before my half Ironman, but I'm quite a confident swimmer. I grew up swimming, so did Dom. So it's like the idea of being in open water swimming was never like scary. It's definitely different because you're sighting, so you're looking up to see where the boys are, because that's like the route, and you can use the people around you to like follow them for a bit. I would kind of do 3 strokes, making sure that the person like on my right or left is staying on my right or left and I'm not like veering off. But then on the 4th, I would like look up instead of like sideways to make sure that we're not all as a pack going the wrong direction, if that makes sense. So don't trust other people completely, but definitely use the people around you to your advantage. You do get people like trying to swim over you and like kicking and things like that, but you've just got to hold your own. Men, you know, fully grown men were trying to swim on top of me. So for me, it's a case of,
Would never.
For me, it's a case of swimming ahead and like trying to put a bit of space between us.
I think it's a problem at the start. Like I've seen a lot of other people online recommend that if you go out at quite a good pace to separate yourself and then just like get into a steady rhythm once you're away from other people. Because it's at the start where everyone's kind of scrambling, but then the field will kind of spread out as you're swimming anyway.
The other thing, a lot of them are timed starts now, so like they'll set you off and leave 5 seconds between. They say to start at the edges of packs if you're not confident swimming. But yeah, in an ideal world, no one would kick, no one would hit, but like it happens. So it's like if you can't beat them, join them. I don't know, maybe that's not your best advice. In terms of the actual race, if you're really not confident, start at the side or put your swim time as slower than it actually is so that you're not with like really competitive people at the front. If you are at the front, expect there to be like some pushing, some kicking, and just try to hold your own. Like getting in the water, you want to acclimatise, so when they say warm up, like get in the water and just sit and let your body get used to the temperature because it is really cold. And the first the first 200 meters, I feel quite panicked, but then you do get into a rhythm. So don't let that it's almost like cold water shock mixed with adrenaline of the race starting, and you just need to find your own rhythm. And yeah, it does settle. So don't think, oh my God, this is a nightmare, I want to get out. Just kind of sit with it and then it passes, that feeling. The only other thing with open water is sometimes you get really dizzy and you can get nauseous and vertigo. I only had that in one race. So I did a
Yeah.
sprint, a standard, a middle distance aqua bike, and then the half Ironman. And it was only the standard triathlon that I got it. And it was horrible. Like, I got really disorientated. I think the choppiness, it was only in a lake, but just the choppiness of the waves, the turning, like I was honestly swimming in a zigzag because my sighting wasn't very good. And there weren't many people around me, so I couldn't use that trick of like, seeing the people to my sides as well as looking ahead to see the boys. And I got out, and in transition 1, I just had to sit there for like 5 minutes or so to like re-steady myself before I got on the bike, because I thought if I get on the bike I'm just gonna like but yeah, then once I was on the bike I got some solids in me, they digested, and I was fine. One thing that I got advice for was to have earplugs, and I think because it's to do with balance and things like that, it really helped, and I haven't had it since, touch wood. So yeah, getting earplugs for the open water swim.
And kick your legs at the end of the swim.
Yeah.
Because all the blood will just go, once you stand up after being like laying flat for half an hour plus, all your blood will just rush to your legs, and then you'll go dizzy because it all leaves your head.
Yeah.
So if you kick your legs and get some blood moving to your legs before you actually get out of the swim, that will reduce the dizziness.
Yeah, I forgot that actually, yeah. That really helped. And also it warms your legs up, because obviously you mainly use, that's another big tip as well, you mainly use your arms for triathlon swim. That's kind of weird for us because we grew up swimming and it's a lot from your legs, but the rest of the race is from your legs, so you kind of want to save them. The swim is the shortest part of the race, so you don't want to expend so much energy. Like to knock a couple of minutes off is going to take so much more energy than knocking those couple of minutes off the bike, for example. The bike is a much bigger part of the race and is actually where you can save the most amount of time. The swim is almost like a bit of a warm-up for the rest of it. So in terms of things to buy, swimming costume.
One swimming costume, hat, goggles.
Different types of goggles. There's open water swim ones which are a bit clearer. Some are like sunglasses vibe, because if the sun is really low and you look at it, it's really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I would get like mirrored ones, not clear ones. I was thinking it looks a bit weird if you can see other people's eyes. I don't like it. That's it. Really.
Membership. Swim membership.
Yeah, membership.
Oh no, that's not it. Wetsuit.
Oh yeah.
So wetsuits are not always compulsory. They're compulsory when the water is below a certain temperature. They're also not allowed whatsoever above a certain temperature, so there's only a range that you can wear them. My first sprint try, I didn't wear one because I was like not sure if I wanted to get into it, and wetsuit is a big kicker to like a budget. And I was fine, but I realised since that the wetsuits are so helpful for buoyancy. You do one stroke and you glide so much further because you've just got, like you're floating in the water compared to having to like kick to keep your hips up. I did start off with a pretty cheap, I got it in a sale for like 50 quid, a wetsuit from Zone 3, but I've since, like, they kindly sent me a much newer version, which was about 450 quid, and I can see the difference. I'm not saying you need to go like completely high end, but the first one was more like a surf wetsuit, and my range of motion, like with my arms, was just, I was chafing like normally, like not in the water, whereas the other one felt like a second skin. Chafing balm is really important as well. Even with it, I had like a scab on the back of my neck from wetsuit. So yeah, like anti-chafe balm, like all around areas of your wetsuit. Yeah.
No, I don't think you need loads, like much of the swimming kit either. Like people train with like snorkels, pull buoy paddles, kickboard. Like you can use them, and most pools will have them to kind of borrow anyway, so you don't need to buy your own. And they're good for doing drills, but they're not like necessary. They're not a necessity at all.
I think pool boys can help. If you're going to get anything, get a pool boy, because like I said, the majority of the swim is pull based.
The thing is, like, if your technique isn't very efficient before you use the kit, it's like the kit isn't going to fix it. It helps you like fine tune things.
Dom's actually a qualified swim coach, so if you want us to do another video on
talk for hours
how to swim, then we can definitely do that. Then you get into transition 1. When it comes to setting up for your race, like take a picture of all this stuff, like almost at home, do like a flat lay of how you'll set up your transition and have a photo, so that then when you're in transition, it's all way more stressful and you're setting up for the actual race, you can just compare and make sure everything is there. You need a tri-suit, which is basically something that goes underneath your wetsuit. You can just swim in the tri-suit if you don't want to use a wetsuit. And it's got a little bit of padding for the bike, and it's also like you leave the same thing on for the bike and the run. So in transition 1, you want like your helmet, you want a race belt. They've got ones on Amazon, like from Zone 3, and they hold your race number. So your race number's got to be on your back for your bike and on your front for your run. So if you have a race belt, you can just spin it round. That's quite handy. You want your cleats, so we'll get on to cleats and like riding and stuff. And you want some like gels and stuff. You want a towel to dry your feet, and obviously your socks. If you try and get your socks on when your feet are wet, they just will not go on, so have a towel. Yeah, so in terms of the bike in general, that's probably the newest thing. No, that is the newest thing that Dom's just got into.
We need a bike.
Yeah.
First of all, probably the most important thing. I got mine off Facebook Marketplace. Holly actually found it for me, and we drove like an hour to go and pick it up. But it's like a full carbon bike, and we paid under 400 for it.
You can get really good deals.
Yeah, like you don't need to spend several £1,000s on one.
You also don't need a full carbon,
No.
Especially if you're just doing like a sprint or a standard. I trained for my full half Ironman on a aluminium bike just from Halfords, that I also got second hand for 100 quid. But I then hired my bike for my 70.3, and I had a bit of a nightmare because the wheels were just slashed and punctured the day before the race. So kind of traumatised from that, and I said to Dom he might as well get a carbon bike from get-go if he knows he's going to do a half Ironman, because otherwise he'll be selling one bike, trying to buy another, blah blah. Just be careful on Facebook Marketplace. Have a look at what other things they've sold. Have a look how long they've been on Facebook. You want them to be a legit seller, not someone pinching bikes and selling them. The cleats, they're not 100% like necessary. They help massively because you get a pull as well as a push. Cleats are basically where you're clipped into the bike. You get some funny falls.
Yeah, I would say practice unclipping before you actually go out. Like you can do it when you first get on the bike, or you can do it like in your room or something on the bike. But just the action of clipping in and out and then leaning the right way. Because I fell over right at the start because I clipped out, but then leant the opposite direction of the way that I'd unclipped. So
yeah. Knowing what your dominant side is.
Yeah, and just doing the same side every time, so it's not like changing.
Every time you see a reason that you potentially might need to stop, I unclip. You don't have to unclip and stop and put your foot on the floor, but just having it unclipped gives you the ability to emergency stop if you need to. Whereas if you emergency brake and you're clipped in, you're just gonna fall, or you're gonna get hit. And I always say to Dom, like, yeah, there's the rule of the roads, and you have just as much right as cars to be there, but cars have a very hard metal exterior and we don't. We have a helmet, so I will always err on the side of caution. Strava's really good to route plan. You don't need a bike computer. I've never had one. I am actually about to get one soon. They're great to try new routes, but they're very expensive, and unless you're trying new routes all the time, you tend to just learn your routes and do the same ones over and over. They're an investment, but like as a newbie triathlete, not necessary. As someone who's using cycling as a way to explore and try new routes all the time, like they are great. We were cycling around Bournemouth yesterday and it was a pain in the bum. We were stopping every 2 minutes to check if we were on the right route, and half the time we managed to take a turning that we weren't meant to take. In terms of fitness watches, get one. Because they, honestly, in terms of running and being on pace and checking, you know, like if you want to do a runner plan, for example.
Holly Fitness for 2-3 weeks of runner.
Then it gives you times that you want to be setting for certain amounts of kilometres and things, and you can just constantly check if you're on pace. I've got the Forerunner 265S, so I've got the smaller version, just because I've only got a little wrist. And it's actually got a triathlon setting on it. It's got its own GPS. And within races, it will automatically swap into transition and then automatically swap to the bike. Like, I don't have to touch it. And then it means that on the bike, I can see what pace I'm going. I can see how far I am from the end. Knowing the time means I know when to take my fuel, because I tend to take it every half an hour on the bike. And then obviously, yeah, on the run, knowing my pace. And it's really common to go out too quick on the run because you can't feel your legs. So almost having it to be like slow down is really important.
That being said, it doesn't need to be that expensive, because if you're in a race, like, you know that like the distance is set for you.
Yeah.
So you're more doing it to keep track of your time. So it doesn't necessarily need to have GPS, but it's really useful for training and like keeping track of your progress. But in a race setting, it's just good because you don't have to like hold your phone. But you know, like, as you're say, running around the course.
Well, you're not allowed to hold your phone.
Markers, yeah. But there are like distance markers, so you can use your watch as like a time thing to check distance. Otherwise, you have no idea like whether you're on track or whether you're going faster than you were in training last week and whatnot. It doesn't have to be like super fancy. No. Just something where you can like see whether you're progressing or not, I guess, when you're training.
In saying that, I also didn't have this one from the start. I had the Forerunner 25, like the first version. Really good for swim, bike, run separately in training. It did everything it needed to do. This is just a fancier version. It just tells you training readiness, how many hours of sleep. I mean, it did sleep.
Yeah, it's good for tracking recovery as well.
Yeah, so there are loads of really great things from the fitness watches. But yeah, like Dom said, I didn't have this version from get-go. It is expensive. And it is definitely something that's like a birthday present or like a treat, and you can definitely start at a more affordable watch at the start and then upgrade. This is the other thing, a lot of these things to buy are like, you need to know you love the sport, because otherwise you are going to spend so much money and then just fall out of love with it. So I had all the simple entry-level versions, and then a year on I'm like, okay, I love it, I want to do an Ironman. Let me invest, let me upgrade. From an aluminium bike to a carbon, from the first version of the watch to this version. A helmet. Get one with MIPS, M-I-P-S. It's a safety feature. I don't know if it's legality, I think they might all have to have them, I'm not sure, but just make sure it has that. Sunglasses, they don't need to be Oakleys. Like, Oakleys are a lovely investment, and I treated myself to them. I'd like done exams or something, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get myself some Oakleys because I could put yellow arm sleeves on them, and I just love yellow. But they don't need to be Oakleys. I would recommend having sunglasses, because on the roads, especially with cars, dirt gets flung up, wind in your eyes, and obviously if it's sunny, but that's not really the case very often.
Bike lock.
A bike lock,
bike
yeah.
lights.
Bike lights.
Just like basic bike stuff. If you're going to be taking it out and leaving it, if you're stopping and getting like fuel.
Always stop for
if you're getting,
cake.
yeah, like, why am I using like, not fancy terminology, but I was about to say the word refreshments. Getting food, and you want to lock your bike up, get a bike lock. If you're riding at night, get some lights.
Yeah.
Spare inner tube
Yeah, a repair kit.
Degreaser.
Bike degreaser, which is, you just want to, so many videos on YouTube, just look how to keep your chain clean. That is something that with that aluminium bike, I did not look after it, I did not clean it. The chain was black, full of grease. My one now I look after a bit more, and I've tried to get you off on a good roll rather than do what I did. Massive saving points financially for the bike are getting your bike secondhand. It doesn't need to be new. The likelihood is you're going to fall if you're new to it, and you don't want to be falling and scratching a £4 bike. Cleats you don't need for your first race. Do a sprint, do a standard, see if you like it. But they are really helpful. They're quite expensive. They're about 100 quid.
Yeah, well, if you have to pay to put the pedals on.
Yeah,
that's
pedals
that's
and
expensive.
shoes
And
are,
actual attachment.
yeah, but they are very helpful in terms of, like driving force, push and pull. Helmets, don't skimp on a helmet, get a good helmet. It could save your life.
Is it really? You don't have to ride in Lycra.
But get big shorts.
Yeah.
It would be really painful. Get, like, I know
Something
it
with
looks
padding.
like such an ick. Yeah, get padded shorts, because
Gotta update the car park. Guys.
actually for a while was riding without the bib shorts, and it hurt a lot, but also I was getting like a lot of pain weeing after rides, so definitely don't do that, because I was getting a lot of pressure where there should not be pressure for a long period of time. Coming on to nutrition, I don't have any gels or anything before the swim, purely because there's a lot of gels going on anyway, and I want to give my stomach a break for as long as possible. I have breakfast before every race, obviously. And then when I get out, I try to have some solids every half an hour on the bike. So I have one in transition zone 1, and then every half an hour on the bike. I love Serene, the malt loaf. It is an absolute game changer. It's so easy to eat. It's so easy to cut into segments. It's got the perfect amount of carbs per half an hour. You can do a calculation online. You need to have a certain amount of carbs per kilogram of body weight. So for me, it works out as 60. I think it's 1 gram of carb per 1 kilo. So for me, it's 60 grams an hour, so 30 grams every half an hour, which equates to like a thick slice of Serene. And you can individually pack them. It's really easy to eat. And jelly babies, love jelly babies. Twice in the ride I have a caffeine gel, one in the middle, one nearer the end, so that it gives me the energy going into the run. And then the run, I don't have any solids, I have those 30 grams of carbs by having gels. So then that kind of takes us on to T2, which is transition zone 2. In that one you want your running shoes. You don't need to buy carbons. Yes, they're great. I didn't race in carbons for ages. They're very expensive. They do make you faster, they do, but please do not train in them. They are not a training shoe, they will injure you. They are to be used once or twice before a race, and then only in races. So unless you have the money to spend on training shoes and race shoes, opt for training shoes only. Do not only opt for race shoes. Also, go get a gait analysis. A lot of places do them for free, and then they do them for free if you buy shoes from that store or something. They film your running style on a treadmill. And I have really dodgy flat feet, so I actually wear insoles and need high support shoes. You can get advice from people of what shoes to wear and influencers, what they're wearing, whatever, but you need to find what works for you, and running shoes are 100 quid a pop, if not more. So don't trial and error, go and get yourself tested, and it will save you money in the long run. In T2, you're going to want to flip your number around to the front, and then obviously one of the main rules in triathlon is you don't touch your bike before your helmet's on. So helmet goes on, then you grab your bike. Same in reverse in T2, you put your bike back and then you take your helmet off. You swap your cleats for your running shoes if you've got cleats. That's the great thing. If you don't have cleats, you just ride them straight away. And your legs feel like jelly. You literally cannot feel them for the first K. You tend to go out a bit quicker because you're already aerobically warmed up. So try to slow yourself down, make sure you're on pace, which is where your watch comes in handy. Don't be going so much quicker than your training runs, otherwise you're not going to be able to sustain it. But yeah, running's probably the cheapest discipline.
Absolutely. You just need a pair of trainers.
You literally,
you want to run it.
yeah, you can go out, you can do it whenever, you don't need a gym membership for it. And it's definitely the cheapest discipline. You also don't need to pay for a coach if you want to do runner. It's like 15 quid a month. That's what's got me through literally starting running to now I'm running marathon in an Ironman. Yeah, so the biggest kickers are definitely the wetsuit and the bike. It's a great sport. You get to eat loads. You cannot take for granted the food side of things and the recovery side of things, because your body just will not, you'll just get injured. For longevity in the sport, if that's even how you say it, you want to look after your body and do not, train fasted and things like that. You need to be eating a lot of carbs, a lot of protein, and looking after yourself. It's a very expensive sport, but it's a great sport. And once you've invested, the reason people stick to it for so long is because you invest so much. You wouldn't have done it if
we weren't dating.
Shut up. Dom's been chief support at triathlons. He knows what goes on behind the scenes, but hasn't done one yet. The other thing is there are so many events in the UK. You don't have to go abroad. I like booking them abroad because it's warmer and there's flat ones, but financially that is a huge kicker. Like, the race entries are so expensive. So if we're talking keeping it cheap, Outlaw do full distance triathlons, half distance triathlons all over the UK. They're half the price of Ironman, but there are sprint tries. Dorney Lake is a great triathlon as your first one. It's completely flat. I'm gonna sneeze.
Bless you.
It's very newbie friendly, and it's not expensive entry, and it's not too far if you're south of the UK like I am. Hopefully that kind of sums up what you need to buy, what maybe you don't need to buy straight away but could upgrade to if you really like the sport. Hopefully there's some good tips in there for the swim, for the run, for the bike, for the nutrition. I'm a student, I don't have a salary, disposable income, and I'm very fortunate that I work in the industry and have had a lot of help upgrading my things, i.e. upgrading my wetsuit and things, but I was willing as a student to invest in it because I really wanted to do it, and I'm so glad I did, because the half Ironman was definitely one of the best things I've ever done. And if you can get family to races to support, do. Having him at all of them has been amazing. And so hopefully that helped, and see you next time.
Bye.